All right, let's talk some more about Assassin's Creed. Picking up from where we left off, the next game in the franchise is Syndicate. Note that at this point they have given up on the numbers for Assassin's Creed games, so from now on, Assassin's Creed games will just have subtitle titles. So in Assassin's Creed Syndicate, you play in Victorian London, and you play as Evie Fry and her brother, Jacob. They're twins, and they have very different styles to how they approach being an assassin. This is very clear from their cards, where Evie is escape detection, and Jacob is chain assassination and murder, where he does very loud assassinations. So I'm going to be honest with y'all, I don't remember much of the plot to this game. It's really Evie and Jacob's personalities that were like the most pronounced thing in the game. They were very fun characters. If I remember correctly, the sort of Isu plot going on is the Shroud of Eden is the object in contention. It can heal, and in modern times, it could even recreate like an Isu from scratch. And this is ultimately another piece of a plot of the Isu Juno, but after this, that was all dropped. And it got picked up in a comic book. So because of the advancements in technology in this time, the assassins have more advanced gauntlets. They have like a pneumatic rappel line now and a bunch of other little fun gadgets. They're also joined by Jayadeep Mir, who also goes by the name Sir Henry Green. Now, Jayadeep is not a killer, but he is one of the most talented in terms of sneaking around and spying on things, assassins that have been seen in a long time. And like Ezio had Leonardo da Vinci, in this game you guys have Alexander Graham Bell, which for those of you who don't know who that is, that's the guy who like invented the telephone. At one point during the game, you glitch out in the Animus and you end up in Jacob's granddaughter Lydia during the Great War, World War I. And you spend some time killing Germans and saving Winston Churchill, unfortunately. If I recall correctly, you end up saving the Queen, which is a weird thing for the assassins to do. But you get the Order of the Sacred Garter, Jacob stays in London, and Evie and Jayadeep, who've fallen in love, move to India. Personally, I would like to see an Assassin's Creed follow-up on this that pairs Lydia with her, I guess, second cousin from India. And their differing perspectives on the British in the early 20th century. I should also note this flavor text here is an homage to a friend of mine. This is his opinion on stealth games. When we were playing Splinter Cell and any alarm immediately loses us the game, he would bring a shotgun. Because following up on Syndicate was Unity. Unity takes place during the French Revolution, and you follow the assassin Arnaud Dorian. Arnaud is not a true believer. His father was an assassin who was murdered by Shay Cormac around 1776. And he was raised by the head of the French Templar, who is actually not that bad a guy. And he falls in love with the Templar's daughter. So it is a much more complicated look at the ethos of both the assassins and the Templars. And Arnaud ultimately comes to the conclusion down here that the creed is a warning. The creed of the assassins is, of course, nothing is true, everything is permitted, and it's been interpreted differently by different assassins over time. Arnaud takes it to mean, ultimately, at the end of his story, that it is about that only you are responsible for your own actions. Cover of Darkness also features Arnaud. And you deal with a poison master, Pierre Bellic. So I assume the Hemlock Vial is from this version of events too, although it could be from a different game. Petty larceny is especially amusing because Unity actually did not have pickpocketing. So now Arnaud gets to pickpocket too, like all of his peers. And Phantom Blade was an invention that Arnaud used that he could do an assassin, like with the assassination blade, from a distance. Now, the guy who killed his adoptive father was another sage of Aita. You might remember that from the Assassin's Creed 4 summary. And so the modern day meta plot, not that there's much of it, is that they are looking for his body because he was the most recent sage, if I recall correctly. And so a lot of the game is about Arnaud and his love's quest for revenge against this other guy, the sage, who ends up becoming the leader of the French Templar. And ultimately that quest kills his love as well. Honestly, Arno's story is kind of a downer, but it is memorable. I had to look up the actual plot of the game because I only remembered him as a character being sort of depressed and an alcoholic throughout a good chunk of the game. Moving on, Xiao Jun was actually introduced in the end of Ezio's story, a movie you can go on YouTube and watch. It's just a short animated movie called Assassin's Creed Embers. And Xiao Jun seeks Ezio out. Well, she's also the star of her own game, Assassin's Creed Chronicles China, which was the Assassin's Creed side scroller. There were 3 of these Chronicle games, although we only see 2 of them in the set. Xiao Jun is notable for being one of the most physically skilled and inventive assassins, especially her use of the hidden foot blade. And her game follows her rebuilding the Chinese Brotherhood of Assassins and dismantling the Chinese Templar, as well as holding on to this box that Ezio gave her, although she loses it partway through her game, and it becomes part of a meta-narrative between all the Chronicles games. Arbaz Mir is from Assassin's Creed Chronicles India. He's personally one of my favorite characters in the set. He was my preview card. He's also the father of Jayadeep Mir, or Sir Henry Green, so he's Evie Fry's father-in-law. What I really like about his game is that his first mission has him breaking into this palace, and you think he's there because he's up to no good, and he is, but not in the way you expect, because he is in love with Princess Piara of the Sikh Empire. He ends up marrying her, and they have Jayadeep together, but he is very much like a family man devoted to his love. He refuses to believe he has to choose between his family or his life as an assassin. And he's got this cool chakram. Chakram? I never know how to say that. He is also represented here in Smoke Bomb. What I like about him is that after Ezio, he's probably the most charismatic, like the charming rogue type of assassin. His plot deals with recovering the Kohinoor, which is the big diamond looted from India by the British. It's part of the crown jewels now. But in Assassin's Creed lore, it's also like an Isu artifact and ties into this meta plot of the Chronicles games that ultimately doesn't matter all that much. And that catches us up to the RPG games. So next time I'm going to cover Assassin's Creed Origins, which sort of reinvented the franchise, and that's what we get for the next 3 or 4 entries. Possibly the new one, Assassin's Creed Shadows, also follows a very similar suit, although we don't know exactly.